Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's a retro match day live today. Newcastle United taking on Aston Villa in 2010, and we're watching the official Newcastle United version of it on YouTube. So if you check just down in the information slot, you'll be able to find the link. And if you want to get to 12 minutes into the video, ideally, that's where we're all going to start watching it from, because there's about 12 minutes of adverts at the start of this. Then get to 12 minutes in. I'm on 12:45 as it happens, but if you get around about 12 minutes in, we'll all be roughly up to speed and up to date with this, and we can all watch it more or less in the same time. I'm joined this afternoon by Spenny, by Martin and by Daz. Good afternoon, lads.
Yes, afternoon.
Good to see you all. I was at this game, and this is the first time I'll have watched it since the actual day of the game, apart from obviously match of the day. So I'm looking forward to this one, especially with the game against Aston Villa being postponed this weekend. It's a bit more poignant, Spenny, isn't it?
It is. It was first home game of the season as well, wasn't it? Got promoted that season before. Chris Hughton manager.
Yeah.
Brings back nice memories, actually. It was a nice red hot that day, I remember rightly. And a bit of a suntan,
yeah.
A red one.
Sub on the tyne as well, of course, was fresh in our memories from the relegation season, the flag and the Anton Deck jibes and all of that. So to get Aston Villa at home on the first game, I think that our tails were up, Martin, weren't we? We were all looking forward to this one. Were you able to get to this one, or is this one you had to watch on TV?
No, I was in the local here in Dublin, so no, unfortunately, 2010 I was literally into my 9th year, having moved to Dublin, so I was trying to get back to as many games as I could. I think I said on the chat yesterday, I shared a season ticket just in the Lower Gallagher with a friend of mine, and we used to take alternate games when we could. But he's now using the one that I had, same seat. So obviously, once I moved, it was harder to get to games, and then the kids came along. So no, I was with my best friend Arthur Guinness in a local pub in Dublin.
Daz, were you at this game or not?
No, I wasn't at this game. When I was looking at the date, I said there's something weird about that day that sticks in my mind. And actually, I was after getting married 2 days before. That's why when I realised the date was. And so yeah, we got married in Mauritius. Both our families went out, so we were actually out in Mauritius at the time. So I didn't even get to see this game. I can't remember the goals either. So it's going to be like watching it fresh for me.
Good stuff. Okay, so if you've just tuned in, we've got about 33 people watching this so far today. If you want to get onto Newcastle United's official page on YouTube, the link is down below in the information section. Just click down onto that, get 12 minutes in, and we will get the game underway, and we'll give people about 10 seconds to do that, and then we can all just press play. So we're all on round about 12 minutes. I'm on 12:45, but as long as we're within a minute of each other, that's not too bad. I will keep an eye on some of the scores around the grounds today as well. Of course, Burnley played Everton today. That was a 1-1 draw. Not the greatest result for Burnley. Burnley were ahead in that game, so keeps them down at the bottom. Always got one eye in the bottom as a Newcastle fan, unfortunately. A couple of people joining us. Laura says, hi everyone, haven't seen this game as was busy with my newborn. Barry says, hi guys, can't wait. Do you think we've got a chance getting a result? I hope Barton plays well. Krul says, Spenny is the great one of the Toon Army. Wieldy says, we had a lot of leaders in that team, especially in midfield, with the raw talent of Andy Carroll up front. Good times. And Barry Hogan says, hope you don't get carpal tunnel with a rattle. I'm going to give it a miss today. Nick Williams says, afternoon, a game I'll never forget for reasons more than one. 1-0 Man City, says Wieldy. Thanks for the update. So please like, please subscribe, please give this one a share. 12 minutes in, press play, guys and girls, and we will get the match underway. Great stuff. So, I mean, looking at the team, Spenny, you mentioned it before there, but it was the team that got promoted. There's the likes of Joey Barton, Andy Carroll, Kevin Nolan, Coloccini, Jonas Gutierrez, James Perch, all lining up there on the pitch at St James's. Lovely sunny day. I think I probably had a tan as well that day, to be fair, mate. But yeah, happy times, happy memories, mate. Great squad and plenty of people walking through the tunnel there with a smile on their face as well.
Yes, they're all buzzing. This game of the season, I don't want it. I think it was James Perch's home debut as well. I think we just signed him, didn't we? James Perch. I think you're right, mate. Yeah, I think you're right. 100%.
Not
me, like I thought he was a hell of a player for Newcastle when he had his on his day, cracking player. You make him a hell of a manager as well. I mean, he's doing well to play with, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing really well, mate. Yeah, Joey Barton was a key to that. Was a key to that team. I can just see on the bench there as well as I'm watching. We're just looking at the tunnel cam. Sol Campbell's there. You forget that Sol Campbell was there. He's been linked with a Sunderland job this week. But Chris Hughton was the manager as well, Spenny. And it was a great promotion season. We did fantastically well, and hopes were high, weren't they? Look at the pack at St James's Park.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Chris Hughton did a fabulous job, mind. I don't know why the hell he got rid of him. No way. He should have kept him. He might have been in the mess we're in now. Say the truth. Should never have sacked him. He did everything right. Got us promoted. First job he ever had as well, wasn't it? Can't what he did as well. Myself. A really bad shock, that.
Lost you there, Spenny. Sorry, mate. Go on, mate. What were you saying? Go on, crack on again.
Perfect manager, wasn't he? You know what I mean? You should never have sacked him. You should never have. You'll be in a different club now, maybe. We kept him on.
Yeah, it was Derek Lambias who took a dislike to him, mate, which was a bit surprising. Martin, Chris Hughton, and this team. Happy memories of this team, really, mate. It was a team that somebody's already mentioned in the chat. It had a few captains in that team.
I was just thinking about Barton. I know he doesn't float everybody's boat, but I was just thinking, God, what I would give for him in a team now as opposed to the likes of Shelby. Like, because he could play a ball when he wanted to. He could hit a rasper when he wanted to. He could mix it up. He wasn't afraid to get stuck in. He'd shout and ball. He's exactly what I think we're missing at the minute, a proper full-on leader. So, yeah, and it was a great shirt as well. Back in with a few good wins. Same season. Was this the same season? Sunderland 5-1.
Yes, it was, because this was the season. This was the season that Hughton got the job.
Yeah. So this is great. There was a few great games that season, 2010. But yeah, it was a great. Like, the thing with the players was they weren't superstars. I mean, like we had Alan Smith was there had obviously come in from Man United. Like Coloccini, we had Perch, we had Williamson, so we didn't have superstars. One or two maybe that had their day if you look at Smith and stuff, but they played well together, and I think the midfield we were just way stronger with what we had in midfield, and then Carroll was just in the form of his life that season as well. So yeah, oh God, what you'd give to have it back.
Oh, I know, definitely. Was Barton right? Was Barton playing right midfield then? Somebody's just asked in the wheel. He's just asking.
Yeah, he was more central, wasn't he? Smith was kind of central and then was pushing forward. But I think during the season on the Sunderland game, Barton came more into middle and took that 10 role when Smith went back out the team. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Daz, that team really was, was a strong team, and to get back into the Premier League at the first time of asking, and to start your season with a home game like this, and in such style, it was just exciting, wasn't it? It was like a flashback to the old days.
Yeah, it was. Like I remember, if we start kind of timeline. I remember Chris Hughton coming to Ireland actually. Did you go to that match, Barton? I think they played one of the pre-season games in Ireland. But the season they got relegated, and then obviously they won the championship. Then after that,
did we play Shamrock Rovers? I think we did.
Go Shamrock Rovers, yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I've been to a few. I've seen them play Rovers. I've seen them play Bows. They played a behind closed doors against Cabinteely as well. That I think finished 2-2. But they often stay at Carton House. I've been down to Carton House and seen a few times when they come over. It's not bad. When Rafa was over a couple of seasons back, they'll actually if you get down there early enough, they'll actually let you in quite close in behind the training lines, so you can actually get in amongst and watch the players training. So it's normally quite good when they come to Ireland, because there's not 52,000 of us over here. It's just me and Daz.
Talking of Ireland, is that Stephen Ireland playing for Villa?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of crossover actually in this, because I think there's a Clark on the team sheet as well. So is it Kieran Clark? Yeah. And like then you have Habib, who comes on in the 89th minute here as well. And is there any? Then there's a few players we used to be linked to at one stage as well. So there's a bit of crossover here between the Newcastle and Villa here. But yeah, just back on the team, Steve, to answer your question. To me this is all about the era of the bromance between Carroll and Nolan. They were inseparable. They were even living together at one point. I think Nolan to keep an eye on Carroll. But they were just a great partnership. And of course they teamed up again at West Ham at a later date. But it was there's no superstars, let's say, but it just gelled well, I guess.
No, they did, yeah. Coloccini captain in Newcastle as well. What was your take on Coloccini, Spenny? He was one of those players that split fans. I mean, we hear this quite a bit about Lascelles as well. As a captain of the team, he splits the fan base now. But Coloccini was another one of those. I mean, he had a great song, but other than that, I know some people liked him, some people loved him, some people couldn't stand him.
I thought he was alright at the end, because he started playing better. When he first came, he was terrible. I thought, here we go, another Marcelino again. But he come strong in the end. And he ended up being a decent signing, decent centre-half for us. And he was a good captain as well. He's a lot better than Lascelles, I think. He controls that. You can see today, our defence is all well organised straight away. And
he stuck with us as well when we got relegated. He didn't move on.
Yeah, so that was as well.
Yeah. What about you, Martin? Were you a Coloccini fan?
Yeah, same as Benny. I think kind of first season, I was slightly worried about him, but I think as we got through the next couple of seasons, he definitely, in my opinion, a far better captain than Lascelles is at the moment. And I think he was probably a stalwart of the defence. He's probably one that has been, over the last 10, 15 years, has probably been one of our better defenders that we've had as we've gone through time. So, I enjoyed him. I thought he was a decent player and a good pro, which is what you want, really.
Yeah. Daz, were you a Coloccini fan? I mean, as I say, the song was a belter. In fact, that stands out for me about this team. There's lots of songs for different players, whereas in more recent times there hasn't been any songs for these players.
Yeah, I can't remember the song, but was it something to do with I Want Curly Hair Too or something like that?
That's right, Coloccini, love of my life, Coloccini, I'd let you shag my wife, oh Coloccini, I want curly hair too. That was the lyrics.
Just remember the end bit. But he was solid. I probably wouldn't have had him as captain, but he was he could get himself out of trouble, because he had that class about him, and that was rare enough in Newcastle defenders. So yeah, I did like him, Steve.
Yeah, I was a Coloccini fan. I think you're right, lads. I think in those early days, you know what I mean, he was great. I mean, somebody's just made the point there in the chat. He made the PFA team. I mean, no mean shakes to end up in that position. But yeah, there was obviously issues at home. Led to believe there was problems with his misses at one point, and allowing him to go back to Argentina. I think I lost a little bit of he lost a little bit of credibility in the FA Cup game, and I can't remember which year it was, but there was it was said that he was one of the few players who refused to play in the FA Cup one year because they didn't think that the FA Cup was the FA Cup was important, and there was never proved or disproved that. But when I heard that rumour and came from somebody within the club who was likely not to be telling lies, I was a bit disappointed about that. But yeah, look, great player. I think did certainly more good for Newcastle than bad. But let's look at Joey Barton. Obviously, Spenny, it's an interesting one with Joey Barton because I don't think we really got the best out of him, and I can always look back at certain times of his career where he's ended up in trouble, and Newcastle was no different. I mean, he ended up in a fight outside a well-known food chain, and had a situation where he was arrested. He was actually locked up while he was a Newcastle player, Spenny. So what was your view of Joey Barton and his career at Newcastle?
I thought Joey Barton gave 100%. He was more of a batty player, but a goal scorer as well. He was committed to Newcastle because I thought he owed Newcastle a favour by keeping him on when he got locked up, like you just said. And he just showed that he's still loyal to Newcastle now. He loves Newcastle, especially when they beat Sunderland, when he's Fleetwood manager as well. You can see the reaction off him there, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, I got on well with him. I was still doing the doors back in those days, so got to know him quite well. Quite a mischievous character, but a man of his word. He did turn up and come along and do a charity do for us, and we did a Q&A with him on stage with Kevin Nolan, and very interesting, very interesting player. Yeah, I mean, Martin. There's no doubt. He didn't help our cause in the relegation season when Alan Shearer took over for those ill-fated few games at the back end of the season. Was sent off, of course, against Liverpool, which robbed us of having him at the back end of the season as well. Whether he would have made a difference, who knows? You would have imagined a fully fit Joey Barton firing on all cylinders probably would have made a difference. We could have stayed up, but obviously made up for it. Although injured, got a few injuries in the Championship, he did play his part, and maybe he's not as much on the pitch as Chris Hughton would have hoped, but he was a big influence off the pitch.
Yeah, I think I read his book. I was on holiday in Turkey there a couple of years back, and I took his book with me just to kind of have a read over. It's actually a real good read. I think he was just a proper young lad from Liverpool. Like, he was a bit of a scally. He didn't have a great start to life. I think he was just typical of someone that had all the talent, but also had this side to him that he couldn't get rid of. And every now and again he would do something to tarnish himself even further. I think under the right manager, maybe under a Robson or somebody like that, you might have seen the best out of a Joey Barton. I think he probably was unlucky not to have and fall with the right managers. And I think part of that was probably because of the person he was. I think nobody wanted to really take a risk on him. But I think his commitment, when he was full on, when he was game on, and he was 100% in it, I think he was one of the best centre midfielders we had. But he could have that flashpoint where he might get a clip on the ankle, he'd leave it 20 minutes, and then he'd have a little bit of retaliation and end up with a red. So you didn't really know what you were going to get with him when he turned up and when he put the shirt on. But definitely an influence for the club. And I think Spenny's right. He still holds a lot of affection for Newcastle. I mean, some of his tweets when Fleetwood played Sunderland and stuff are just brilliant. So, but again, he's a wind-up merchant, But it's just a shame we probably couldn't have had him a couple of years younger as well, and maybe with the right manager that pushed him on. I think he could have been a really, really great player. And I think he just didn't do himself justice with the talent he had as a footballer.
I'm not sure how far on you are, lads, but obviously the penalty which Steve Harper conceded there, definite penalty, but didn't need VAR to sort that out. But John Carew, I think he took a chimney stack off the strawberry with that penalty. Daz?
Yeah, I just watching the replay again. Yeah, it's sky high, out of the stadium.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, but I mean that was a start which could have gone the other way. We could have conceded that, and it might have been a different story. But crazy penalty to give away. Definite penalty, and Carew obviously blazed it over the bar. So Joey Barton does. What was your take on Joey?
Yeah, I used to like Joey Barton. He could cause a bit of trouble and everything like that. I don't think we should ever let him go, and especially let him go for free. I don't know, maybe as well. He was he was interested in what he come out with as well, and the cheeky little grin on him and stuff. And I think it probably liked him later on as well when he left Newcastle, because he was into Football Manager and stuff as well. So I kind of had a bit of a soft spot for him then as well. But no, like he was a good player. I suppose the kind of he could get you could get a yellow card or a red card. I suppose a bit like Shelby back when the Red Mist used to send on him. But I did like him.
There's the lad over.
I've just got a goal there, so I'll wait for you to catch up.
I'm the same as you, man. I'm the same time as you.
Yeah, I'm at 29:05.
All right, I'm a minute behind you there, but
I'll pause. I'll wait for you.
Okay, mate, no problem. Yeah, well, obviously you're just watching it now. I'll watch the build up, and it was a fairly even start of the game, to be fair. And obviously Carew blazed that penalty over the bar, but then obviously Newcastle are the first ones to score, and they never really looked back after that. Starts at the back, doesn't it? Coloccini lays the ball back to Harper. Harper clears the ball right up. Andy Carroll, that's the Andy Carroll we all know and love, winning the ball in the air like that, big win. Then collects the actual ball from his own knockdown, sticks it back to Routledge. Routledge then to Nolan, and Newcastle's still pressing, but it's still 0-0. I think we're coming up to the goal roundabout now as Jonas gets the ball, and then Barton hits it. Great goal, wonderful goal. What a strike! Didn't score many, but when he did score, they were special. Yeah, fantastic goal, and you can see how much it meant to Joey Barton there as well. Great strike, and fitting that he gets the first goal as we were talking about him. Let's take this question here from Keith. He says, question to NUFC Matters panel. If Ashley didn't sack Chris Hughton this season, where do you think Newcastle would have finished, and how far do you think Hughton could have taken Newcastle, Spenny?
I think we would have ended up in 9th or 8th place, to tell you the truth. At the end of the season, I mean, you might have pushed Europe with the season up there. If he'd actually given the battle. That's what I think. Because tell him he's a good coach. He did well at Brighton and all that, and he got them up, and they were a good side when he got them up in the Premiership. He got them settled and all that. I was well disappointed he got sacked now.
Yeah, me too. Martin, what about you? If Ashley hadn't sacked Chris Hughton this season, where do you think Newcastle would have finished, and how far do you think Hughton could have taken Newcastle?
I'm not sure how far he would have taken them, but I think I have a guess. I think he was very tactically aware, and I think a lot of people don't give Hughton the credit that I think he deserved. I think he was great for the club. He was great in front of the cameras when he spoke. I think as a manager, you believed in him, and I think the players believed in him. I think they had a lot of respect, and I think he still does get a lot of respect wherever he is. So I was gutted when he went, to be honest, because I thought he was a mint manager. I really did.
Okay. And what about you, Daz? What was your take on that? Where do you think we would have finished that season?
Yeah, I just had to bring up the table to see where we actually did finish. So we finished 12th that season. And yeah, Pardew came in, if I recall from earlier. I'd say we would probably finish the same, let's say. But Hughton was never given the money to try and build on something, and he was probably just given the championship squad and trying. There you go, see what you can do with that. You did so well in the championship. If you'd been given a chance for a season or two after that, then yeah, I think we could have kicked on a bit. So yeah, I was sad to see Hughton go as well. He never got a fair crack at the whip after him bringing us straight back up. And yeah, he went on to other clubs, and he's at Forest now. So yeah, you'd like to see him do well at actually every club he goes to. I like to see him doing well, because yeah, it's a pity that we did let him go too soon.
Update on the scores. Man City still beating Fulham 1-0, and as you might have seen on the chat there, our neighbours Sunderland are once again losing by a goal to nil, this time at home to Wigan. We'll keep an eye on that and other scorelines as we go on. Yeah, John says bottom of the league, Wigan schooling them at home. Keith says Joey Barton sublime goal in this game, and his 2 penalties in the 4-4 draw against Arsenal were probably the best moments of his Newcastle career. He also played a blinder against Sunderland in his last game for Newcastle. Wieldy says he doesn't think Wayne Routledge got a fair crack in the team either. Spenny, what was your views on Routledge?
He was a bit like Franz Gard sort of player, in and out most of the time. Sometimes he turned it on and that, but I wasn't that keen on him, to tell the truth. To be honest, I wasn't that keen. That Mike Willis has the same name. I'll give him instant stick when he started in Newcastle, mind, because he was crap at the start. But he turned the corner as well, didn't he? So it might be about giving players time, like Joe Linton.
Yeah, Wayne Routledge. I mean, he's one of those forgotten men. It's not the kind of person, Martin, you would remember. You know, you wouldn't come straight to mind, would he, in that team? A bit like Williamson as well. I mean, obviously I see a bit more of Williamson. He's local to me. He's Gateshead. He's Gateshead's manager. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those players were good squad players. But yeah, Routledge was okay. He was, he did his bit, a bit like Leon Best as well.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was going to be a good signing, because I'd seen him at QPR a few times, and he was at that season he was kind of what we were missing. Little tricky winger, low gravity. He could get in and about defenses, and he was scoring some good goals for QPR. He came to us. I think he scored 1 or 2, and then seemed to kind of go off the boil, and then just didn't get his chances. But we did, the likes of Williamson and that. We did have some good squad players. Who I think the difference with that team and the squad players we had back then was probably when they came into the team, you knew they'd do an okay job. Whereas at the minute we've got squad players, and you're kind of looking at the bench and you're going, I'm not really getting that improvement on the team with them coming in. So I think that was the difference again. They weren't world beaters, but they were definitely dependable and reliable to go in and do a job. Or if you were 2 up or 2-1 up with 10 minutes to go, and you brought on a Williamson to shore up the defence, you knew he'd do a job. Whereas I don't think we have that at the minute.
I think you're right there, Mark. We've got too many squad players at the moment. Not enough squad players. That's our problem.
Yeah, go on, Martin.
No, I was just saying there, I think it's that calibre we don't have now, Steve. So I think, it's just they are half decent players, but I think the problem we've got is we're not adding. When you bring those subs on, we're not bettering probably what we're taking off. Whereas if you took a Routledge off, and Barton was missing a couple of games, you brought a Barton on, you were probably going up a fraction. Whereas we're not doing that. Like I seen somebody yesterday on Twitter going, obviously Sean Longstaff has signed up with one of the super agents looking for a move away. Some people saying, it's a shame he's a local lad. Other players saying, he's done now. I put a comment up saying, I think he's bang average at the moment in the season. I don't think he's really improving. I don't think he really improved under Rafa. I think he's getting a run out. But is he improving over the last 2-3 seasons? Probably not. Would you keep him? For me, I wouldn't. If he wants to move on, move on. I'm not too keen on this whole agent being mentioned, and I think there's a little bit of gamesmanship in that. But again, with the likes of Longstaff when he's coming on, is he giving us anything better in the team? I'm not convinced.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Daz, just looking at the same points again, just about Routledge and the likes of Williamson and that. There was some squad players in there, but they were carried along by the stronger players in that team. And I quite like Routledge, I've got to be perfectly honest. And Williamson was steady away. Was never going to be the best centre half, and he knew his frailties. But it's still, still a decent servant to us.
Yeah. just on Routledge first. As a winger, he was speedy. He was kind of just really a squad player for me, and just kind of bring him on in the last 20 minutes, half an hour if we needed something different. And Williamson, he's a solid defender. What was I can't remember what was the whole thing about towards the end of his Newcastle career where was he trying, or there was some kind of controversy over the end of one game? Then you remember.
I can't remember what it was now. There was something good. There was something
going
on, wasn't there? Yeah.
I remember, and then there was a big question mark whether he's really trying or something like that. I can't remember now, but I remember that sticks in my head for Williamson, so that ruins my impression of him then.
Was it not a game where he got sent off deliberately? Is that what you're thinking of?
It could be something like that, and I'd have to look it up now to tell you the truth, but that stuck in my head. So, but he was solid at the back.
Yeah, I think it was a game where he where there was the fans had said he got deliberately sent off. It was something like that. If we look it up, Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0. Collins has scored for Stoke. Middlesbrough going great guns. Definitely a team which could be there or thereabouts. With regards to promotion at some point. We may end up playing Middlesbrough next season. Who knows? And Wraith Rovers have scored. Get in, Wraith. Big fan of Wraith Rovers.
It's all about the Wraiths this week. You even had the film.
It is, mate. It is. John has said there's a rumour going around that the game this weekend was cancelled not for COVID, but 10 of the first team had severe shock after Joe Linton scored. Life Goal says Routledge was excellent in the Championship, sound in January, about 15 games and 5 goals, part of a small spend to secure promotion. Van Arnholt, Leon Best, Routledge and Williamson all signed in January. Good point. Rich says DeMarco just tweeted that he's had to go back from his Hove retreat for 3 heavy weeks, hopefully on about the takeover before the transfer window. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Rich, if that was the case. Wieldy says, I could never get away with Alan Smith, me. I think I had the Alan Smith of old at Leeds in my mind still when he came, but he was never the same about after his injury at Man United. But he was a decent player though. Yeah, Spenny, Alan Smith, probably a bit like Nicky Butt as well, wasn't he? 2 big names, but we didn't get the best out of them at Newcastle.
I was excited when he signed for Newcastle, to tell you the truth. I was expecting a lot better. I was very, very disappointed what he did in Newcastle. And how long did it take him to score? It took him about 5 months to score, didn't it? Something like that. I think it was a record or something for signing someone like that. I've got him cheap though as well, didn't he, Steve? Got him cheap from him. He was all right, but like I said, I always thought him like that lad just said there. As a Leeds, when he was at Leeds, he was fantastic at Leeds, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That Leeds thing.
I think we seen those players though towards the end of their days. If you look, if the MLS had been as big then as it is now, we probably wouldn't have got players like that. They would have gone to, somewhere in Florida or gone to New York or gone wherever and done a season or 2 seasons, got a mega pay packet, and that would have been the end of them. So I think, if you look at Man United back then and Smith and the likes of Butt, okay, they were probably again steps up from what we had, but why were Man United letting them go? If they were still in that prime, there's no way Fergie would have been letting them go. So I think exactly. So I think we just seen some players that were at the end of their boots, I suppose.
Yeah, and just on Smith as well, when he was at when he came to Newcastle, I would have expected, he's going to play in the striker position. But actually, as I get rid of my ad here, but he kind of seemed to drop back and want to play in midfield rather than anywhere near the forward line, and that's probably why he didn't score so much for us then. But I was disappointed with him. And of course, he was the name on Mike Ashley's shirt when Ashley was in the crowd back in the day.
Yeah, you're right, mate. Yeah, I remember that. You're right. Yeah, Alan Smith. No. Alan Smith was one of those players, as you say, just didn't really. Again, he was part of the players' committee, I think, but he was one of those players who just didn't live up to the expectations. Unfortunately, injuries at Man United, I think, had really like curtailed, the best of his career. We had both Smith and Viduka then. If we'd had the same pair that was at Leeds, we would have been challenging higher, but they were way past their best. John Justice Allen, he says, didn't actually have Alan Smith in the back of his shirt, which is just what Daz has said. Keith says, Alan Smith never scored in 94 competitive games at Newcastle. At Man United, he scored 12 goals in 93 games. Good stats there. Henry says, Cassapa had a good reputation in France. Yeah, Cassapa, wow, he was some player. Spenny, let's look at Kevin Nolan. Massive part of this team, and obviously the captain on many occasions, and he led from the front. Spenny, didn't he, Kevin Nolan?
I love Kevin Nolan, mate. You should have never sold him either. He give you 100%, man. I was just to stand there, sit there and watch him, and all he used to do is just walk about in the 6-yard box. No, like running or nothing like that. He just knew where the ball was going. It was all like intelligence, football intelligence, Kevin Nolan. I always remember these little chicken dancing, Sullivan.
The duck.
Cracking player.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, Martin. I mean, Kevin Nolan. He was just a great ambassador, wasn't he? I mean, it all stems back to the Leyton Orient friendly when Newcastle, of course, lost 6-1 at Leyton Orient, and they had a big get together prior to the promotion season where basically the players committee pulled everybody in and said, right, who's in and who's out, and who's up for the fight in the championship, who wants to get this club back in the Premier League, Martin. And it was Kevin Nolan and the likes of him, Joey Barton, Steve Harper, Alan Smith, who were all ready for the fight, and who wanted to essentially wanted to get the club back to where it belonged.
Yeah, I thought, like Spenny, I thought he was an exceptional signing when we got him. He was. I liked him when he was at Bolton. I thought he was a standout player. He didn't have to do nothing special. He just had a knack about him. I think, as Benny said, he was naturally gifted with just knowing where to be. He always seemed to be in the right place at the right time, and he scored some good goals as well. He scored a lot of important goals for both Bolton and for us in particular. And I think the partnership, that this season when Carroll was on fire. Nolan, I think, was probably one of the standout players of the season for us. He was a great captain, I think he was just a cracking player. I would love to have seen him stay a bit longer, because I think we would have got another good couple of years out of him. I think recently he's obviously not done himself no favours with some of the attachment to Mike Ashley. He's turned a few fans away that maybe had a lot of time for him, but look, say what you want. I'd look at what he did on the pitch, and I think he probably, for me, I'd put him up there with a team of the few greats that we've had. Not maybe to the same level as a Beardsley or a Shearer, but if you were looking at a second class of entertainers, he'd be up there and in with that for me. Oh, he's gone. Daz, you're in charge. You've got a screensaver. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's had enough. Yeah.
Maybe I'll carry on about Nolan.
Yeah, I've got just on the timeline. I'm at 44 minutes. I've gone through a couple of ads. I don't know where you lads are at.
I didn't know that. Prince William was at the match as well because he's Aston Villa supporter, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He was right. Yeah. Just showed him in the crowd there with his binoculars on.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk about Nolan in the absence of Steve. For me, Nolan, I loved him. He was could always get you a goal. He was an interesting character. Did he come in with Sam Allardyce? I can't remember who signed him.
I think Allardyce signed him. Did he?
Yeah, not 100% sure.
Yeah. Allardyce had him at Bolton, did he? Was Allardyce a Bolton?
Yeah, Allardyce was a Bolton. Yeah,
Bolton for him.
Yeah, I think he must have done.
Yeah, but for me as well, what I remember about Nolan, like of course, he get your goal and stuff. There's, as I can see, Stephen Taylor in the stand as well. But he at one time when I used to follow the soccer team, he was linked to potentially playing for Ireland, but it never happened anyway. But that was another thing that attracted me to Nolan. I thought, okay, if we could get Nolan to play for Ireland, he'll get us a goal. We're always looking to borrow a few players So
He never played for England, did he?
no, he never played for England.
No.
He could have qualified for Ireland through some way as well. So but it never worked out.
Yeah.
Funny as well, just looking at the back four of Villa. The back four of Villa, they just talking about Ireland, they actually had Ireland's centre pairing near enough there with Richard Wood and Kieran Clark.
Yeah, the Dunny monster.
They would have been Ireland's first choice. Back to certainly two of the back four anyway.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you, lads, as far as the game's concerned? Because I had a complete shutdown on my internet there, so I need to know where you're at.
I'm at 46 minutes, just approaching half time. It's still 1-0. Okay,
I'll get there as well.
So if I get to half time, I'll just hold off till everybody else is 46-13. I'm on at the minute.
I'm 47.
Yeah, I paused to slow down.
Good stuff. I'm on 46-26 there. I've just come to your bit with Stephen Taylor in the stand. It's a nightmare when the bloody internet freezes, but that's the way it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realise as well, because as I say, it's a while since I've watched, I was at the game live and I've never seen this back, but I forgot the gap between the goals as well. You say we're just coming towards half time. I'd forgotten how slow it was in the first half.
Yeah, I know that. And I didn't realise it was 5 goals in the second half. I was just like, you know what I mean? I didn't know that as well.
It's 2-0 at half time, isn't it? I think we score again just before half time, and I think there's four goals in the second half.
It's funny when I go to the match, I can never remember the first half, and I always remember the second half. I don't know why.
Yeah. Alcohol.
Aye.
I tell you one thing with this Villa team, and I still don't like him, Ashley Young. Yeah. Oh, man. Does he ever stop moaning and throwing his arms up as if he's getting elbowed?
How he was good the Man United, I do not know.
And he was, he was a fairly dirty player himself as well. He'd no shame in leaving the studs in or leaving an arm in himself. But as soon as he got anywhere near a tackle, he was always one of these trying to give it the flash of cards and stuff. I hate that.
Yeah. Give him my sign, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was at Watford before he went to Villa, wasn't he?
Something like that, right?
Yeah. His second goal.
What a great ball in again, though, wasn't it? Yeah. Another great cross in, and
Nolan.
Fantastic. Kevin Nolan, 2 bites at the cherry there.
Yeah, the ball in was from Enrique, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jose Enrique whipped the ball in there. Great ball in. Look at the camaraderie between the team, though.
Yeah, the Carroll and Nolan partnership.
He got some crap in like Enrique when he came back, didn't he? When he went to Liverpool.
Yeah.
That difference there, though, with that goal, if you think about that, Enrique out wide, gets it to the byline near enough, cross in, Carroll header back. The difference there was we 3 players in the box.
Yeah. What's that about?
We get opportunities now like that, where so far you've probably got Wilson and, you'll be lucky to have somebody 20 yards back. We don't seem to put the body into the box that we used to. I don't know why, but we don't seem to gamble. Maybe it's for fear of getting caught out and then counter-attacked and not being able to get back, maybe.
Yeah. Kevin Nolan does. Your views on Kevin Nolan? He was he's been called an Ashley apologist by a few of the people on the stream today, but there's no doubt as a player he was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, we were just talking about it, Steve, when you were off. I liked him, and we were just trying to decide to figure out. It was Sam Allardyce that signed him.
Yeah, it was. He was good pal of Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, from the Bolton days, of course. But he was a real leader in this team. He was captain of Bolton before we signed him as well. But
Life Goals seems to think it was Joe Kinnear, so I might stand corrected there. Maybe it was. Yeah, I would be. Maybe he did bring him in. I'd be surprised. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, it might be the case. But I would have always thought his affiliation with Sam Allardyce obviously came from the Bolton days.
Yeah, of course. But and he formed a great partnership with Andy Carroll, and he was, for me, he was the captain. That's why when we talked about Coloccini earlier, I would have had Nolan as captain here, over Coloccini, because I don't know, just the language thing as well, and just to kind of getting it, I suppose. But yeah, no, I was a big fan of Nolan. Steve?
Yeah, me too. Good question from Live Goals here on the Forster versus Krul competition. We've talked a little bit about how goalkeeping competitions have we've always been strong in that department, Spenny. But that was a big one at the time, wasn't it? Forster, Krul. Krul, of course, I think Mitch mentioned it on the Three Amigos show last night. Made his debut in Palermo and had an absolute blinder. Kept a clean sheet on his debut. Forster was always in and around, but never quite broke through. Obviously, had to leave the club to continue his career. But yeah, what was your take on those two keepers at the time?
I thought Krul was the keeper. Foster didn't do for Newcastle, I didn't think. I think he come on in a cup game, and I can't remember rightly. And I watched him, and I thought Krul was a lot better than Foster. Like when he got sold, where did he go there? He go to Southampton, didn't he?
Celtic first, I think.
Celtic.
Went to Celtic, then Southampton.
Southampton, yeah. And he did well at Southampton, didn't he? He's still there, though, isn't he? Is he still there?
Andy Carroll's just scored. That makes it 3-0. I'm not sure where you are, guys, but Carroll's just scored. It's about as rare as Haley's Comet.
I was getting that. Going back to Krul, I was cracking keeping. Remember in the World Cup when he come on, put him on as a sub, didn't he? In
the penalties.
The penalties. The goalkeepers over, put him in, and he saved it, didn't he? Saved all the penalties.
I think the thing with Forster when he went to Celtic was they brought was it Craig Gordon they brought back in?
Yeah.
And that kind of displaced him. Then Gordon went on a run with Celtic. Celtic were flying that season. I think he took 10 games off him and never ever got back in the team again.
They didn't do anything at Sunderland, didn't they? You spent a lot of money on him as well, didn't they? Sunderland, Craig Gordon.
Yeah.
Did nothing.
Yeah, a lot of money. Sunderland still losing 1-0. Anyone's actually interested, still losing 1-0 to the mighty Wigan at home. And on our feed, 3-0 to Newcastle against Aston Villa, and Andy Carroll getting a goal there. Let's talk a bit about Andy Carroll. I mean, it's current, Martin. He's at the club. He's on as we know, a pay-as-you-play contract. He's on a basic of around about 20 grand. He's not scored since he came back. But this is the Andy Carroll pre-£35 million transfer to Liverpool, and he was starting, really, wasn't he, to look every inch the player we hoped he would be.
Yeah, I mean, that season in particular, the partnership with Nolan, who was effectively playing as a second striker, stroke a 10, was probably one of the best seasons he had. Obviously, Liverpool came in for him. He went to Liverpool as a big, massive signing for 35 million. Some Newcastle fans went, it's a great deal, which at the time it probably was. But I think once he got to Liverpool, he didn't really hit the ground running. He scored a couple of times and then obviously fell out of favour. But injuries have blighted him since. He's never been... that was probably the best he's ever been. I don't think he was right even when he went to Liverpool. So I think we definitely got the best out of him and then obviously got the dollars to go with it. But, I mean, I know he's back at the club, and I'd love to see him get on and score just because you kind of want it to finish up that way. That he gets a goal, Gallagher end, a trademark header. You'd love to see it, but I don't know if he's going to get the time in the team to get that. I think, Gale comes back mid-December. I'd say Gale will be in front of him. Unless there's another Wilson injury, you can't see him playing Carroll and Gale. He might, but I think he'll drop down the pecking order. But he's probably a good voice around the dressing room with the younger players, probably like a Nolan was back in the day. But yeah, I'd love to see him go out with a bow and get that final goal and get the credit he does deserve because he was a good player for us. I'd like to see him go out on a high.
Okay, John says Accrington Stanley currently 3 places above Sunderland in the league. What a time to be alive. We shouldn't really laugh at these poor teams, that are in our region. Like I don't laugh at Hartlepool and Darlington, and they're almost down at that level now anyway. Big shout out to newworkwear.com, specialists in the supply and branding of clothing for the workplace, and they are sponsoring the StreamYard application this month. And big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in the northeast, based in Wallsend in Newcastle, and also the maker of of the Supermac t-shirt and the Supermac mug, which you can buy at newcastlelegends.com. Big shout out to those guys. And it's the Andy Carroll conundrum. Daz, he's still at the club, but this is good. Just watching him, beat people for fun in the air, scoring goals. This is the Andy Carroll would love to have seen come back this time round, isn't it? Daz? Is he frozen? Daz is frozen. Oh, he's okay now. Back? Yeah, you're back now, mate. You're back.
Okay. Sorry, I was just saying that, with Andy Carroll coming through the youth ranks, and I suppose like everyone that does come through that ranks, they're going to be compared to Shearer, or can they be the next Shearer or whatever. But he was starting to perform here, and this was his time for us. Like he was banging in the goals, and he had the partnership with Nolan, as we said. And then was selling him to Liverpool and the transfer deadline day, and we still have that 35 million, so we're not too bad. And you'd love to see this scenario as Martin described, that he gets a goal for us this season, because I can't see it, and I don't want him here next season. So let him. I'd love to see him get his goal this season, and then leave us on a maybe not retire, but leave us on a high and with good memories. And again, there's a role for him this season to play. As I said, he's a good option to have on the bench for the last 15-20 minutes to come on and put himself about and maybe get a flick on or a header himself and get something for us. But hopefully we will see that day. We'll celebrate that day, and you better get the rattle out that day, Steve.
I will do, mate. I will do, no doubt about that. But I mean, look, Andy Carroll, as I said from day one when he returned, I always felt it was a publicity stunt. But look, I don't see anything negative about the kid. I loved him to bits as a player at the start of his career. Got to know him quite well. Lovely guy. Typical local Newcastle guy, and look, he's just doing what he does best, and that is, he's got to get a contract and he's got to pay his bills and pay for his family like everybody else. But unfortunately, it's not the same Andy Carroll that was sold all those years ago, and it's great watching back and just remember him for what he was, because he was an integral part of that team. I just wish he'd stayed and had the opportunity to stay that little bit longer. With hindsight, it was the right decision. I remember everybody being up in arms when we sold him for 35 million, but yeah, happy memories. Watch back. I'm sure he'll get a lot of pleasure out of watching this as well, over the years. Spenny, what was your take on Andy Carroll back in those days? I mean, did you think he was going to cement his place in history alongside the other great number 9s?
I had a lot of respect for Andy Carroll, because he had a lot of when Alan Sheeran left, and he was the one to come in. And like you said, seeing him now, he's like a gazelle. But the thing was, the team was set up for Andy Carroll, to play for Andy Carroll, the way he was at the front. The crosses, the passes, the runs, were all set up for him to score. Don't get us wrong, when he sold the Liverpool, I thought it was a sniff, 35 million. Scored 35 million for him. He's only been in the Premiership so long. I think another Liverpool fans used to, like me, used to say, you only seen it because it says no. I don't think he's a tremendous player. I don't think he's worth 35 million. He's a good player, but he's not worth 35 million. I used to get things, but it came out. Liverpool didn't play Andy Carroll's way, did they? So he didn't make a success there.
Yeah, and at that time, Spinny, on the same, I think it was the same day, on the transfer deadline day, didn't Chelsea buy Torres for 50 million, and that's why Liverpool had the money then, and they splashed it on Carroll. And we were left without a striker.
They bought Suarez as well, didn't they? Both together.
That was the problem. They had Suarez as well as Carroll.
Like little and large, wasn't it?
Like Suarez was on fire that first season.
Brilliant him. Oh, they got him.
Carried it on. Carroll was never going to keep up with that, unfortunately.
One of the transfers of the season, of the decade, that man.
Suarez was amazing. Yeah.
Getting him, even though he beat people.
I think you mean he had a bit of bite to his game, Spinny.
That's it, exactly.
All the good players have something about them, and there's always something.
Keith's on a roll, literally, with his stats today. Andy Carroll scored 33 goals in 91 games in his first spell at Newcastle, 1 in 3 game ratio. Unfortunately, no goals in 26 games in his second spell. Last good season was probably West Ham 16-17 with a hat-trick versus Arsenal. Cheers for that, Keith. Paul Gibson.
Just a question to Keith.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, are you Andre's stunt double by any chance, Keith, with those kind of stats?
He's definitely hedging. He's definitely hedging for Andrews. Paul Gibson says Carroll's best season for us was in the Championship. Scored a 25-yarder against Liverpool. I remember that as well. That was a good goal. I'm a big Carroll fan, but sadly the money was too much for Money Mike to turn down, says GDN. They also bought Henderson. Just talking about the players that they brought in. That was a good signing. Remember laughing at that when he got signed by Liverpool. But what a shrewd bit of business that's turned out to be by Liverpool. Paul Gibson, Cashney must have been laughing his head off getting 35 million. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those deals in our history where you look back and you just go, wow. I mean, I did the same with Sissoko. Sissoko left and he's become an integral part of a team like at Tottenham where they've got an outside chance of winning the league this season if they can continue the great start that they've had, and Sissoko is going to be part of that. But yeah, I mean, I thought getting £30 million for him was a snip. We managed to sell Wijnaldum as well, and he's gone on to win the Champions League and win the league title winners medals. So, it just shows you what I know about football. But he's some of those greatest deals.
Yeah, you could say the same about Cabaye. When Cabaye went, it was at a brilliant Newcastle, and he sold them, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, he was one of those players, Spenny. He was one of those players, though. It was when Alan Carr was traipsing around France and, more or less trying to nick all their best players for little or very little money. And then, the aim was to bring them in, buy them and sell them on, get them some Premier League experience and then sell them on, whereas, they're like, you're right. We went through that period where we were almost like, half our squad was French, weren't they?
Yeah. Debuchy. Remember him?
Debuchy, yeah. Well, he followed Cabaye all the way around Europe, didn't he? Any club that Cabaye went to, it was almost a running joke that Debuchy would follow him in. I'm not sure whether they had the same agent, but the families were really close as well, weren't they? Very, very friendly. Got on well with each other. Yeah. James Perch clearing the ball on my feed, so I'm not sure where you are, but I mean he was another one, wasn't he? Mr. Versatility, came in, bit like Kieran Clark now, somebody who came in, probably was bought as a squad player, but was actually more vital to to the promotion season, playing in a variety of different. Playing in a variety of different positions. He actually did quite well for his Perch, and actually got the nickname Perchinho, didn't he?
At the beginning, though, he got some stick off the crowd, man. I remember him getting really bad sticking in the papers and all that. And then he just settled in, like you said, like Coloccini, he was the same. So when he settled in, he performed better. I think it was his second season he started to play better. So like you said, he played in every position, didn't he? I don't think he played centre forward. I think that was the only one he didn't play. Goalkeeper, he was in goal one time, I think, as well.
Yep. Nobody beats Andre, says Keith. Paul Gibson says Sissoko is a vital cog in the Spurs midfield. You can tell Mourinho likes him, he just doesn't score enough goals. Funko says if you look at the rubbish Dalglish signed for us, Barnes, Anderson, Thomas and Rush, etc., giving us 35 for Carroll was an apology, I reckon. Wieldy says we sold Barton and Nolan and replaced them with Tiote and Cabaye. Ended up in Europe. Who would you rather have in centre midfield? Great question, Wieldy. Spenny, I'll let you answer that first.
I'm trying to think now.
I would have preferred Barton and Nolan. That would be mine, I'm afraid.
Nolan. I think I'll go Barton and Nolan because they weren't that injured that much. The commitment was there. Cabaye's wasn't commitment was there. Jordy's was. Cabaye's commitment wasn't there for the club. I would say Barton and Nolan, yes. Yeah,
I mean Nolan would be in my best team, I think, really, to be fair, just because of his leadership, etc. Martin, go on, between those, Barton and Nolan or Tiote and Cabaye, who would you prefer in the midfield if you had to pick one of those pairings?
I think purely on partnership and playing when we needed them, I'd take Barton and Nolan. Okay. I think Tiote's goal against Arsenal never be forgotten. Cabaye's in the yellow shirts, the 1-0 away win against Manchester United at Old Trafford. I think he'll be remembered for, and obviously some of his free kicks. The 3-0 win against Man United at home, when we outclassed them again. But no, I think for me, Barton and Nolan they're just, they're just I keep saying they're just they're what we're missing right now. That bit of leadership and bit of drive from the middle of the park. I'd love to have just one of them back. Any one of the four I'll take back tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you are, guys. I reached half time, so if you are you there yet?
I'm 1:17, just about ready to kick off the second half.
I'm Sim. So if everybody who's watching at home would like to get to I'm at 1:18:12, and the guys are ready to kick the second half off. So if you just want to get to that on the official Newcastle United YouTube page. And once you're all there, you just click play and we can watch the second half together. That would be great. So there we go. Press play, guys.
Got it.
Newcastle United 3-0 up against Aston Villa in this retro watch back. And WeWantWorkwear.com and QTechShop.co.uk have sponsored today's show as usual. But go on then, Daz. Give us your answer on those two centre midfield partnerships, mate.
Yeah, no, it was a great question, first of all, and I take Martin's point as well. Yeah, you'd take any of the four back if you could. It'd be a clean sweep. I think I'd go for Barton and Nolan as well. Just to mention on each of the players. Let's say Tiote, God rest him. As Martin said, he'll always be remembered for the goal against Arsenal, the 4-4. But for me, I remember when he was playing, I was also going, he's going to get sent off. He's going to get sent off. He would get a yellow card in the first couple of minutes or so, and then you just we'd be down. Just the way he played, I guess. Cabaye, he was a bit of a spectacular. What was his nickname? The Dreamboat. That's the thing people nickname him. But for me, it would be Nolan and Barton. Nolan for his goals and Barton for that cheekiness, I guess, and what he could perform as well, or produce rather. Barton and Nolan for me.
Yeah, I would still have Rob Lee in the team, guys. Definitely, yeah.
Sorry, Rob Lee ahead of both of those two as well.
I'm Gary Spade.
There's no doubt about it in my mind, but we're not talking about Rob Lee, we're talking about these guys, so obviously definitely Rob Lee ahead, and Gary Speed as well, no doubt about it. There's so many players you could mention that would get in ahead of all four of them, I'm afraid. But you do need somebody to break the play up. You do need somebody who's going to captain the team, who's a voice on the pitch and who's a voice in the dressing room. Nolan's definitely one of them. It would be a nice problem to have as a manager, you just want a decent squad, but it's one of those talking points. Looking at go on.
Martin said there, that's where we lacking as well. Them two midfielders in the middle of the park. Now, if we had a Bobby Lee or a Barton or anywhere like that, now we were a totally different team and a better team as well. That's what we need, two midfielders like that.
Mm. Yeah, I think we're missing that. For me, we're missing the David Batty, which is somebody just between those two lines, midfield and defence, that break the ball up, play a 10, 12, 15-yard pass, nothing special, into midfield, couple of solid centre midfielders, and then a 10 just in front of them with the creativity. That's what we're missing. So if you had that Batty type, and then you had the Gary Speed, Rob Lee, Cabaye as your three in the middle there, I think that's what we're missing. And then with Wilson up front, we've got guaranteed goals if we can play right. It's the centre of the park that we're just massively
the weakest link. Yeah,
it is the weakest.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing is, can I just say as well with this match, it's glanced. The cameras have glanced up a couple of times. Can I just say how great St James's Park looks without the Tatty Sports Direct stuff up on the main stand, please?
Yeah, you're not going to get any arguments from us on that. But it just looks great, doesn't it? It's I know we've been promoting the We Are the Geordies film. I've still got the backdrop there today, just promoting it. And from our perspective, you realise what you're missing. That old saying, you don't realise what you're missing till it's gone. Well, not being able to go to football games is something we've all missed, obviously, since March this year. This weekend sees some fans returning, Spenny. Obviously, some of the games in London, obviously they're in the lowest tier. Getting the opportunity to go and watch the games games, and up to 2,000 supporters going to be attending certain games. We've seen some of the matches already with supporters in. What have you made of it? Just from an observer's point of view.
Right, I think a total north-south divide going on here with this lockdown. Totally. We in lockdown, we in tier 3. Can't go to the game. You know what I mean? But the likes of Liverpool can go to the game. And the Arsenal, and then London's getting more affected than us now. We're going down. They're going up, and we're the ones that's on tier 3. But I would not go to the match until we get a cure for this life. It's not good risking your life. How do you know? It goes by day where you've got the virus or not as well. It's too risky to stay for me. Sorry, but
yeah, no. That's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Yeah, Martin, it looks a bit damp, a bit of a damp squib. Some of the rules and regulations that they've put in place as well. Obviously, if you live in the same household, then you can sit together. But obviously there has to be spacing if you're from a different household. But yeah, up to 2,000 supporters allowed in a lot of these big grounds. Obviously, no away fans allowed as well. I mean, it begs the question, really, is it really worth it? And are the clubs getting anything out of this? And does a supporter really want to be going along and sitting in a crowd of 2,000 people in a 65,000-70,000 seater stadium?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to it. I think I'm glad to see the fans back, but where I'd like to see them back is in the lower league teams, grassroots football, kids training. All of that is good that youngsters are able to get back into it, and I think the lower leagues, so conference, I was going to say League One, but I won't, because that would just be taking them in. But the lower league clubs that they rely heavily on fans going to the game as their revenue to survive, and I know we've seen in recent days they're getting a handout from the Premier League. That's where, and I take Spenny's point with the virus absolutely 100% about risking people's lives. But I think there's a lot of clubs that, despite the handout, I think the longer it goes without fans in, are really going to start to struggle. We've seen the likes of Shrewsbury already, and other clubs really starting to go on. So from their perspective, I'm glad to see fans going back. From the Premiership, I don't think there was the need at the moment. I think we should have just ran this season out without having the fans back. I agree with Spenny. Obviously different for me and Daz here in Ireland. We've come out of tier 5 effectively, or lockdown level 5 to level 3. So pretty much everything is back up and open again. You can, I play in an over 40s league. That's back on Monday night. So it's great from that perspective. But I don't think the Premiership maybe should have gone with it. I think there is a little bit of greed in there. I seen the Arsenal game the other night, which I thought was quite funny because their fans were singing to an empty away end, singing, "You're the shittest support we've ever seen." So I get the comedy bit of it, but yeah, I think for the lower league, Steve, I think it's great for fans to get back because I think they really need the revenue, but I don't think that the Premiership needed it at the moment.
Yeah, Keith Krul saying Newcastle are on a different level when Rob Lee and Gary Speed played for them. Even Keane said recently that Lee and Speed were among the toughest players he had played against. Paul Gibson agrees with you, Martin. He says we need a Vieira, Batty type player in the middle. And Wieldy just says St James's Park looks class. All those black and white shirts in the crowd doesn't happen as much these days. Used to be full of black and white back in the day. Atmosphere used to be rocking. It's definitely lacking now. And Keith also says, great point about St James's Park, Martin. It's nice to see St James's Park before it was vandalised by Ashley. Funko says we need a Pearce in defence, a Batty in midfield and a Shearer up front, bossing the game at its best. We never went out thinking we were going to get a hiding. We went out there saying there's at least 11 of them. And GDN says, just realised this is a retro match, just shows where my head's at. Worried AF about having cataract surgery on the 16th. Classic GDN. Yeah, I mean, fans back in the ground, Daz, it's happening. Let's just hope, I suppose, that this small move is something which is going to lead to to eventually all of us being able to meet at St James's for a drink outside and then going into the ground to watch Newcastle win again.
That would be great, and it sounds amazing. For me, I'd kind of be on the what lineup of what Spenny was saying. I don't think anyone should be going back to the grounds until there's the cure. And in the UK, you guys are rolling out a cure now. it's arrived. I know how they're going to roll it out, and I've seen some things on Sky News about it. But yeah, what your freezers to hold the vaccine and everything like that. But yeah, we've come this far. Let's go a bit that bit further and get the vaccine out, and then we can go back properly, like hopefully, and then maybe go back in a staged approach or something. But yeah, I don't think really anyone should be going back at the moment, and especially the Premier League when all the games are on TV and everything as well. So that's where I'd sit on this one. I know it mightn't be a popular opinion, but that's where I'd sit.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you are at your footage, but I'm just about to boo Derek Lambias there. Yeah, Derek Lambias, dear me, what a character he was. But yeah, just great to see St James's Park full. Just looking forward to being able to get back to those days and get back into the ground. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And
Steve, I'll ask you a question. Let's say that the rules change a bit and Newcastle fans can go back to St James's Park. Would you be one of the first people to try and get in?
For me, I would like to go. I've got a season ticket. It's a season ticket. I haven't asked for a refund on either. I'm just putting the money in, and let's see what happens at the end of the season. But from my perspective, if it's going to be a lottery and people are going to be asked to go, then yeah, I mean, I've been to Dunstan's games, up until the last lockdown. We were allowed to go in as a crowd. Before that, because I'm on Dunstan's committee, we were allowed to go to the games as part of the committee. So, I've seen live football and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The hand sanitizing at the ground as you walk in. Everyone has to wear a mask when you're going into the ground watching non-league football. So, is it any different going to watch a non-league game or a Premier League game in those conditions? It's not. It really isn't. I mean, my dad's a season ticket holder at Durham Cricket Club. He couldn't understand in the summer why they couldn't go when they attract crowds of around about 2,000, going and sitting at the cricket club, at a huge stadium in Durham. Why they couldn't go and watch cricket? They just couldn't understand it, and it is ludicrous. It is in a lot of ways. I can understand it from Spenny's point of view. I can understand both sides of the argument. But the answer to your question is, if I got selected to go by the draw or however they're going to do it, then yeah, I would go. It's going to be interesting to say the least. It's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be entertaining. It's not going to be the same buzz as a match day. But yeah, I mean, you get the opportunity to go and watch your team, then you are going to go and do it. I mean, touch wood, I'm fitting well. Don't have any underlying health conditions. And I'm willing to follow the guidelines that they set out for me to go to that game. So yeah, I would. Do I agree with it? Not really. I don't really agree with. I think it should be all or nothing. But as I say, if you get the opportunity to go, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm really interested to see how things develop, Spenny, over the next few months, because once fans are allowed back into grounds, we'd lost 10,000 supporters to start with. It'll be interesting to see how many more supporters we've lost. I think there'll be a lot of people who want to go to the games, but I think that due to the fact that a lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of people will have be on reduced money due to furlough. We might find that we haven't just lost the 10,000 who didn't want to go back under Ashley. We might have lost a few thousand more because of circumstances.
What amazes me with Newcastle fans, no matter how skint they are, they go to the match.
Good point.
They do, man. I know when we were all in Mackie Thatcher's 80s and we were all unemployed, literally games with chock-a-block, full to heaven. I mean, they said to keep the money. They keep the money because they want to go to that match. It's their club. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when me and you go to the match, we're going to wear one of them pie face masks, are we?
Yeah, Martin. It's I mean, for me, I would go back. Would you go back, Spenny? Would you go back, Martin? Would you go back, Daz? If you got an opportunity to go?
I would go back.
If somebody offered me a ticket tomorrow and I could get a flight, I'd be there like a shot. And it's purely because I don't live there anymore. So for me, any opportunity I can get to go, I would always love to go, because it's still my team, and it's still the colour shirt I wear, still the shows we sit and do. So for me to go and see him in the flesh live on something that I don't get to do that often, you have to take whatever you can get. So for me, yeah, look, I hear what Steve's saying. Sanitizer, wearing a mask. If they were what was required, then I'd happily do that. Me, if even to the point, if I couldn't get into the game, if it was say the 2,000 or 4,000, and I didn't have a ticket through, some really good friends I've made over there, i.e. Steve, Spenny, and somebody else that might bring me to a game, I'd want to just be around the town, having pints and enjoying the atmosphere and walking up the hill. Might not be able to go in, but I'd still want to be around Newcastle and around, afterwards for pints and whatever else. So it's not just about the game for me; it's about the atmosphere and being home. And it's probably a bit different for me than it is for you lads, but for me, it's about just being home.
What I miss about going to matches, going to the match with my son or my daughter, and having a big crack with people in the pubs and that. I just miss the banter and that. That's what I miss about the games.
It's a day though, Spenny. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was at home, it was, you were up sharp, you were out, you were, in the big market for a few pints beforehand. Then you made your way up. You might have got a bit of grub. You had a couple more pints. You were in the ground. You were with your mates. So it's not, it's like I can go to some of the lower league here in Ireland, where it's like, the ground is 10 minutes from your house. I can actually see the lights from it in me, out the bedroom window. So I go there, but it's like I'll go 5 minutes before kickoff, 90-minute game. It's League of Ireland. It's good. There's some good games. There's a lot of good young ones coming up, but there's no investment in it, unfortunately. But it's not, you'd have a couple of pints, but it's not home, if you know what I mean. It's not the same that same feel and that same excitement and buzz,
Go on.
No, I was just going to say that I'd be the same as Martin. I'd love to do all that and experience the full thing. But for me, because I'd only get to go very rarely in the first place, when I do go, I got to kind of keep my powder dry, because when I do go, I want to not be thinking about a mask and all those kind of things. I'd rather wait till it's clear to go and I can really enjoy it and just kind of. Because when I go, I'm taking in every little detail in the stadium, because it's so rare. I'm actually there, and just as I said, the walk up and just the whole experience of it, and to savor it. So that's why I'm kind of happy enough to wait until it's good to go again.
Fair point.
Before you all go, if you do go to the match of his mind, you all go to the nice pubs. We don't go to strippers out like that, right?
Right, I'm out there, Benny. I'm out.
I'm more worried about you stripping than going to strippers, Spenny.
Yeah, I've seen you in your dress, lad. Don't forget.
Oh, I'm still getting there from Texas. That's because it was gone out with him.
Fantastic. Well, it's still 3-0 on my feed, and about 1 hour and 36 minutes in. So more goals to come in this retro watch back, and thoroughly enjoying it, to be honest. Watching it back, and just little things like we've already pointed out. The lack of Sports Direct signs, and just how the pitch looks in that first game of the season, and full stands with black and white tops in. It's it is very retro at the minute, because, as I say, we're not allowed anywhere near St James's Park. Lots of people just reminiscing about the bars and clubs and missing out on going to the match in general. Wieldy asked about Brad Friedel playing for Villa. How much different could it have been if he'd signed for us instead of Liverpool? Denied a work permit. I remember that, Wieldy. Yeah, he was denied a work permit coming to Newcastle. Got to be honest, he wasn't one of those players I was ever desperate to sign. But he seemed to be linked for a hell of a long time. But we didn't. We didn't get him, and it's one of them things. But we've always had good goalkeepers. Paul Gibson says, "For your eyes only, great on match day. Nice girls, cheap pints." Cheers, Paul. There are other lap dancing. There are other lap dancing clubs out there, apparently. Brilliant. What's that? Sorry.
Is that a James Bond film? Though?
I think it is. Yeah, for your eyes only. It is. It's a James Bond film. It is. Yes. Yeah, just talking about the COVID situation that we're in as well. I mean, there's talk already, Spenny, of potentially next week's game being off, but complete lack of information from the club. No surprise there, of course. But yeah, real concerns about next week's game potentially being off as well.
It's got to be off, hasn't it? Because you've got to go in isolation 14 days. You're supposed to be if you got it, it's 10 days. And if you've been with someone who hasn't had it, you've got to be in there 14 days. So it's got to be called off, hasn't it? If you're going by the rules. Really? It's like my son was in his house, and all of us and the two little ones, they didn't get COVID. My wife, me, and my daughter got COVID. He was confined in his bedroom. We could go out after 10 days, but he was still stuck in the house for the next 4 days because he didn't get COVID. Jeez. That's right.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it is still rife, and obviously the R rate's not coming down in the northeast of England. The R rate's dropping in the UK as a whole in general, but by all accounts, we're still quite high in the northeast, and it hasn't really got any better. So whether we drop down to tier 2 by the 16th of December, who knows? The only one thing we're all guaranteed is that we've got 5 days for Christmas, which again most of us feel is ludicrous. But the COVID situation is affecting our football club, Martin. As I say, we've gone first. We're the first team to obviously have this kind of infection and obviously be unable to play. The big question is whether whether next week's game is going to be off, and if the next week's game goes ahead, how prepared are the first team going to be? Because the training ground is still not open.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, Steve. Personally, I think the club, it would have been better for them to be a little bit more transparent. I think if you look at some of the other clubs, they've named the players that have had COVID, and I'm not 100% sure why we've not done the same. Maybe there's reasons behind it that are out of my reach, but I think we should have said. I agree with Spenny. I'd be slightly concerned about the game against West Brom. Doesn't seem to have been any updates in the last kind of 48 hours with how many players now have it, and staff. Obviously, we've not trained, so I think that there is a legitimate concern there. I think just thinking about the other thing there about fans going back to the ground, it'll be interesting to see as and when the players get back out and the performances, if fans are allowed. Does that affect the team even more then? Because I can imagine if the performances don't, take Palace aside, but if the performances don't improve as to where they have been, then obviously that's going to start, I would imagine, coming back to Bruce and affecting the team again. So probably from his perspective, there's that piece that you said last week, Steve. Bruce is probably happy to have tier 3 still, that there's no fans going to the ground. If we were to get more in, then I can see that atmosphere, as we know, when things are not going and fans dislike a coach. I think it could be detrimental to the season, but obviously there's reasons why we have our issues. But yeah, there's definitely concerns for the game. I'd like to hear a bit more from the club. I'd like to see an update. Absolutely.
Yeah, great to see Andy Carroll's goal to make it 4-0. It was a real striker's finish after a great knockdown, and the camera panning to Alan Shearer with his son, young Will, not so young anymore, sitting in the stand, and another Newcastle legend, of course, who left under a little bit of a cloud, Peter Beardsley, sitting with his wife Sandra in the stand as well, all looking very happy as Newcastle go 4-0 up. Fantastic goal that by Carroll, a real poacher's finish, and as he wheeled away with his familiar celebration with the number 9 on his back, we all thought there was big days ahead. But COVID it has affected us, and I think it was Mitch last night said it on the Three Amigos. Typical of Newcastle to go first and get like a mass infection, which means that the game was off this weekend. But fears already about next weekend.
Yeah, I hadn't heard or read anything yet about the West Brom game, but Yeah, like and as well as that, like, and it was touch. I've only watched 40 minutes of the Amigos yet. After finish off the rest of it, but yeah, like when Newcastle went first as well with the ban of the handshakes. I remember I was in a meeting at the time, and one of the lads just showed me his phone. Newcastle banning handshakes, and I thought, oh, what next? But it was a good move by Newcastle. They were ahead of the game, so I'm sure they are doing everything that's possible to try and prevent these things. But yeah, the players going away on international duty and everything like that didn't help, as the lads were pointing out last night. But yeah, it would be great to have some communication. Of course, Newcastle are great at communicating with us, but to find out who's actually out, or who's and at what stage of people are coming back as well, so we could even know ourselves that the game would take place or not. But hopefully they give us some more information early in the week.
Yeah, we do need some information. It would be handy, but as I say, they're not the quickest Newcastle United for giving information to fans at the best of times. So I'm sure we'll find out in due course from somebody at some point. Good points being made by everybody. The thing about games in lieu is them points become desperately hard when we fall down the table. That's a good point.
I think that's a really good point.
Rich says, regarding COVID, I've heard it was due to an international player coming back. I mentioned this last night on the show. Ludicrous having internationals, which seems similar to a few other clubs. Nations League should have been scrapped as it puts risk to others. 100% agree, and that was a point I made last night on the show. Wieldy as well. I'm just trying to find it. There it is. It's not just fans going into the ground, it's the metros, the buses, the public transport, people getting there. Got to think of the health and safety, really, and that is another a big issue. Just getting to the games. So yeah, it is gonna affect it. Paul giving us some more good news. It's still 1-0 to Wigan. 25 minutes to go. Come on, the Latics. Wieldy says, how many players have caught COVID because they travelled away on international duty? Just what we've been saying, not just about Newcastle United, but around the teams. There's no way them internationals should have happened. Yeah, crazy really, Spenny, to have those international games.
Silly, like, and I was sorry I was getting distracted because I've just hit £400 for me walk.
Oh, well done, mate. Well done.
Donated, so for £400. Can't believe it.
Great stuff. Well, just before you talk about that, just tell people who are watching who might not know what you're doing and where they can donate. You're doing a walk for which charity, and where can people donate?
Right, I'm a governor of 3 special schools, and they do autism and disabled children. And obviously, I'm raising funds because the school's getting hit by COVID and the budget's going down because they've had to increase the staff, the teachers' assistants and that sort of thing to cover for the kids coming in and that sort of thing. I'm walking 100k in a week, and I've done 85k now. I've only got 15k to go in 2 days. So hopefully I'm going to do it with a dodgy leg as well. But you can well done, donate on me. You go on Twitter, Spenny Mag, and it's on my profile, the link under my name.
Well done, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, superb, mate. Great effort. And if you want to donate to Spenny, do exactly that. We've all put a little bit in, and up to £400, mate. So that's a great effort in these testing times. So yeah, with regards to the internationals, do you think they should have been played, or do you think it should have been scrapped, Spenny?
Should be scrapped. If they're playing abroad, coming back, they don't even know if they've got COVID in a couple of days, 3-4 days time. You know what I mean? And we're in the higher country as well. We could be affecting that country as well. France is the same. I think it's silly. It should be all abandoned. Anyway, I think internationals should be played in the summer. It should be like the World Cup should be played 1 year. Then the qualifiers of the European Championship should play in one summer. Then the European Championships, and then the World Cup qualifiers like that every summer. That's how it should be played through the football season, for me. That's my opinion.
I've just seen this by Tom Dixon. He says, what's your thoughts on what Jose Mourinho said about Newcastle? I haven't seen what he said. Anybody know? Anyone shine any light on that?
No.
There's been some clips going around. I think it was part of somebody put something up about Bobby Robson. I think it was Mourinho saying, if if he had the time back, he should have followed Robson wherever he went. So if he'd had his time back, he should have come to St James's with Robson when he had the chance way back. So I think I'd say that's probably what it's about.
If we get over, I think he will come.
Well, might get there one day after Rafa and Pochettino. There's a few people. There's a few people in the queue. Rich says he doesn't understand why you can only have 2,000 fans for Tier 2, 4,000 fans for Tier 1 for stadiums our size. Surely you could do something like 10% for Tier 2 and 25% for Tier 1. Yeah, it's a good point. Wildy just says well done to Spenny. And GDN says, fortunately, down to this dam, we can't be docked points unless Borough and the flu game against Blackburn. I remember that, GDN. I remember that one. There has been precedent set in the past with games that have been postponed, and I think COVID would be the exception, though. I don't think people will get points deducted, I'm afraid. Paul Gibson says, I think you could have 15,000 in St James's spread about easy without any risk. The point is, like Wieldy made, though, it's people getting to the ground, it's people getting on public transport, and that would cause the health issue. Paul Oxley says we shouldn't let any fans in the ground either until people have had the necessary vaccinations, which is probably 1 year down the line. It's going to be interesting because people may end up in that position where we end up getting some kind of COVID passport where we have to prove we've had the vaccine if we want to go to things like the game, to restaurants, out of the country. I think that's where we'll end up. I don't think people are going to be happy about it, but I think that's the way we might end up. And unless you've had the vaccine, you can't travel.
After the first lockdown, did it say that if you live near St James's Park, you were going to get priority for the games? I think they said that.
I didn't see that. I mean, the club haven't been very forthcoming with anything, as we've already discussed on the show. I've not seen that at all. The club have been very, very quiet about it because they haven't had to worry about it or cover it, you know. So right. Be interesting to see, Spenny, if anybody has seen something like that. Would be interesting. Great to see Ryan Taylor coming on. Another great servant of the club. Over the wall, and of course Shola. You know, not everyone's favourite player, but became a bit of a local icon, especially for his goals against Sunderland. But yeah, always interesting to see these games and see who used to pull on the black and white shirt. GDN agrees with us. All internationals should have been called off until this damn virus is sorted. Rich says Moreno was on about catch-up games and that everyone should be level with games played by Christmas. That was the reference to Newcastle. Wow. Okay, so I wonder if he would be the same. Daz, if that was Tottenham in this position.
Yeah, that's a lot of shows for us to do then between now and December. But think of us, Jose. But yeah, of course, if it was to suit him, he'd have a different story for sure. But look, I like Jose Mourinho, but yeah, he always likes to say something controversial. Yeah, I can't see that happening. I think if, let's say, for example, the West Bromwich Albion game gets called off, there's no way it can happen before Christmas. We have a League Cup game as well, and it's like the 22nd or something like that. But so there's no way you'll squeeze it all in. There's plenty of time from January onwards to and we're probably out of cups to squeeze those games in.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Martin, can we?
No, we can't play Saturday at the minute. So. I think, look, the games we'll have to play the games at some stage. I think Daz is right. After the new year, you know, you can probably look at a 2 or 3 week schedule where you put a couple of those games in. But I think the point that came up earlier on was a good, valid point, which was, you know, let's just say West Brom game is called off. That's 2 games. If there's teams around us start to get a few wins and we are starting to slide a bit down the table, when those games are rescheduled, a couple more losses, they could be hard points and points we need to get in the bag to keep us in the playing field at that time. So I hope that the West Brom game is not cancelled. I think 1 is enough. I wouldn't like to see another couple cancelled because I think, you know, depending on what happens in games around us, it could be bad for us. But hopefully it's just the one. Hopefully we play next week. It'll be good to see some live football.
Yeah. I had a point on the YouTube channel there from Robert Adams, basically saying that the longer the club have to self-isolate, the more likely the team's going to lose fitness and tactical awareness. I mean, that is a good point as well, Spenny, isn't it? That, not being allowed to train is certainly going to affect the players.
At the end of the day, though, it might be a good thing for Newcastle, because the last time we come out of the lockdown and they weren't training, they won about 4 in the belt, didn't they? Remember last season?
Yeah, back,
a different thing when they came back compared to when they went, wasn't they?
Once you know Bruce Ball, you never forget it. So we're not too bad in that sense.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say the tactical awareness. I'm not sure we'd lose it because I don't think we had it anyway. So I think the fitness I'd be more worried about if anything. But again, the club just need to get clarity. Like, why have we not heard that?
I've just had a flashback with Gutierrez when he scored his 5th goal for Newcastle and he finally put his spider mask on. Remember that?
Yeah. Remember that, yeah.
Here's the player coming now, Cisco.
I'm just going to say, I'm just going to watch another club legend coming on.
Yeah.
Do you get him to many shows, Steve?
Dear me, how can you imagine an evening with Cisco, and Josselou and Joe Linton.
Josselou scoring in Spain though.
Yeah,
you're right. Like, Cisco. What a name for starters. But what a player he was. Just complete enigma, wasn't he? Complete enigma.
Was the agent that brought him in? Who was the agent? Was it the same agent, or was it the agents were linked somehow to the agent that done the double deal to West Ham for Mascherano and Tevez?
Rings a bell, that, yeah. Rings a bell. Definitely, aye. We got a bad deal, though, didn't we? I'd rather have had Tevez.
Yeah, either of them, yeah.
Was it that Bassades or something? Did he come with him or something? There was
a few. Christian Bassades,
yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
He didn't even play, did he?
I remember reading, I'm sure there was something to do with the agents or the players that were linked to the agents. I'm sure there was something similar.
Yeah. Paul Gibson says 45 goals in 12 years for Shola, but for some reason my old man loved him. Wieldy says, is that Stephen Ireland, number 9 for Villa? He was one of the most baffling loan signings we had. I'm sure it was that season in January as well. Played about 20 minutes and then never seen again. He had a bit of controversy, didn't he? He ended up doing something in a casino or something, and I'm not 100% sure, but Stephen Ireland was a strange player.
Controversy followed him, Steve. Yeah, remember the story with the Republic of Ireland as well, where he's he didn't want to go to a match or something, or didn't want to play, so he said his granny died, and then I can't remember the story exactly, but then the granny that he said he died, she said it was news to her because she was alive, so it just made up a complete story. So there was a big piss take in Ireland with Stephen Ireland and his legendary stories that he'd make up to get out of things.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Yeah, I think with Stephen Ireland, he came with a great reputation and then just did very little. But he was at that point, I think, in his career where he just didn't give a monkeys, did he? He'd made his money and he was more interested in spending it off the pitch than he was doing anything on it. Rich says Shola was 6'2", jumped 5'9". I think I've told this story before as well when. My wife came to the one and only game she ever went to us with. I was actually invited as a guest at somebody's box. It was a business's box. So my wife spent all the time sitting in the inside eating. She came out for 5 minutes to watch some of the football, and she went, "Why does that player keep falling on his backside?" And of course it was Shola. So she knows nothing about football, but she got Shola to a T there. Cisco was one of Wise's YouTube signings, says Rich. Paul does remind us though that Shola was the Mackham destroyer, which of course we'll never forget. It's why he'll always be held in high esteem by so many. JDN says, so how many games called off? It's supposed to be 14 days isolation. We're possibly thinking West Brom could be off. Zach asking what we think of Sunderland. I think you know. And Henry Lane just reciting the We've Got Percino song. Is take a double check on the Sunderland score, and with 15 minutes to go, Sunderland are still losing at home to Wigan. I'd fancy them to probably get a draw. They tend to get a 1-1 draw.
That's going to be a draw.
Tends to be their favourite result. They always manage to get a goal out of nothing. Very little action in the game. Man City 2-0 up against Fulham still, and yeah, not a great deal going on there. Obviously, most games getting spread out over the Premier League this season. Just going to check out on the Borough score. They're still losing 1-0 away at Stoke as the Villa fans start to leave St James's Park. Had enough of watching that team get hammered by Newcastle.
One of the lads' comments on there. Is it Weldy? He says,
yeah,
4-0 up, he put 2 strikers on. Hughton.
Yeah, good old days, eh? Good old days.
I tell you one thing with the defence though. Watching this, Jose Enrique was a quality defender. He could play a great ball, but by God, he could defend that left back position.
Yeah,
and we were talking about Perch and the likes of Williamson weren't superstar players. But I tell you, Williamson, watching some of this and some of the other games he had, he was a great man marker. Like he was clear in his pocket. Like at some of the bigger games, I think we played when we played Liverpool and a couple of others. I think I remember him having Suarez in the pocket, and there was loads of stuff floating around, little players, pictures of Williamson with the little players popping out of the back of his shorts and stuff. But he was a very, very good man marker.
Just a steady Eddie, wasn't he?
Yeah. Enrique was a great left back.
Yeah, I loved Enrique as well.
See, Woodgate's been in news. They're talking about Newcastle. Said his best game was the semi-final against Marseille. It was the lad who went to Drogba. He had Drogba in his pocket.
Yeah.
The game he ever played, he said.
Rich Stories mentioned this. I've not heard this. Obviously, we're doing this live footage. Slight change of subject. Boom by fans at Millwall game at fans taking the knee at BLM. Not sure what that is. We might have a look at that next week though on the show if I get a chance to see it, Rich. Interesting. A lot of people got different views on all of that. Wieldy says Williamson was good at what he did. Won headers and tackles. It's when he tried to play passes and do something out of his comfort zone which normally cost us. Which, again, just what I was saying about Coloccini, you know what I mean? He was one of those players who, would have maybe one good game and then one bad game. But yeah, they were good servants to the club nonetheless.
He was the 80s style player. Like the 80s defender. He just, as soon as he got the ball, he kicked it out. Or kicked it as far as he can out the way, didn't he? He didn't pass it about like the ones do now. He just, the job was to not defend that goal and make sure that he get the ball.
Rosier, if all else failed.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I used to like.
So, actually, just while we're... Oh, okay, there's another goal there for on my feed, anyway, for Nolan.
Yes, Nolan.
Yeah. Looking at our squad today, the guys who normally play, who's playing today would get into our team today? Okay, maybe if we go one by one. Harper.
I would play Dubravka ahead of him.
Yeah.
Coloccini. I'd put Carlo in as well.
Coloccini.
Yeah. Coloccini.
I'll play Coloccini in. Yeah.
Okay, we got Williamson.
Yes, I would actually. Maybe he's not with Clark or Fernandez. No. I love
Fernandez and Coloccini would be good.
Right.
I think we've got better players at the club. I wouldn't have Williamson in the starting lineup now.
Fernandez and Coloccini would go centre half partnership.
Yeah, I think so too, Svenny.
Yeah.
Enrique over instead of Lewis. I'd go. Enrique as well.
No brainer. No brainer
today. Perch and Manquillo
for me.
I'll go Manquillo.
We'll go the same. Then we go into the midfield positions. Let's go kind of defensive first. Maybe Barton or Hayden.
Barton.
Barton, yeah.
Yeah. I maybe for defensive, I might go Hayden. So just throw that up there. Nolan or Shelby?
Nolan.
Easy one. Okay, wingers, we go Routledge or ASM?
ASM.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. On current form, I would play Routledge.
Yeah.
Okay, Gutierrez or we go for Almiron? Gutierrez or Almiron?
I'll go
What was the answer there?
I'll go Gutierrez.
I'll go for Jonas as well, yeah.
Okay, Jonas. Yeah, I go for Gutierrez there. Okay, we've Smith. What position is Smith playing here? Who would we put him up against?
Joe Linton.
Smith. Smith or Joe Linton? So yeah,
That's a hard one, that actually.
I'll go for Joe Linton there. I'm afraid. I think, especially after last day.
Smith in his heyday, yes.
Yeah.
I'd start with 10. I'd start with 10 if we've got to pick either of one of them.
So we have Steve Wraith in at number 10, and then up front we've got Carroll. Okay, Carroll in his prime here, or Wilson.
Callum Wilson.
Callum
Wilson.
I'll go Carroll.
No, that's it.
Good though. Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah.
Coming up, must be coming up towards the end. We've got about 10 minutes left on the feed, so we're coming up to the final goal. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a good watch back. I'm glad we watched this one back, especially with Newcastle supposed to be playing Aston Villa this week.
It's like going to match, going to be crack on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I tell you one thing, Villa had some decent players in that team that day. They had Krul started, but they brought Heskey on. They had Stilian Petrov, who was a quality little player. Unfortunately, obviously went up to Celtic and was amazing for them for years until he got sick. But like they had some good players. Like Albrighton was there and is still playing. I think is still on the Leicester books.
I think Richard Dunn was a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah, that actually. Like they had some good players, really.
He was good at Man City, like wasn't he, Richard Dunn? Was it Richard Dunn? Centre half?
Yeah.
He was a good player for Man City, wasn't he?
The old Dunny monster, yeah. He's very good on stage. Good for Ireland as well, actually.
Keeper's a good keeper as well, like Steve said earlier, we had better, like.
Good pals with Howie, I think, as well. Richard Dunn.
Is he?
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if they played together.
Was he linked to come up here one time? I think we were going in for him, weren't we?
God, we've got linked with so many players, Spenny, didn't we, over the years? Like, got linked with so many. It was good to see Harper getting a run anyway in this team. Didn't play many full games for when you think about the amount of time he was at the club. But it was nice to see him get a run, and it was great to see him being such a big part of the promotion team as well, and be a part of the squad. And I, for one, I'm happy to see him as part of the coaching setup. I think, next year the takeover goes through. It'd be nice to see him and others be brought back into the fold. There's, see the academy be developed, but see it developed with some of these young up and coming, potential coaches amongst our ex players. You've got so much talent there. We see like the likes of Steve Howie's got his coaching badges. You know what I mean? Clarkey, obviously, as we know, has been involved in management. Steve Watson's involved in management. It'd be great to see some of these players come back and be involved in some shape or form at the club.
Yeah, definitely. I think Steve Abbott's had a lot to do with Darlow's upbringing as well. He's brought them on a bit with his coaching and that. You know what I mean? You can tell.
Yeah,
he's improved because of it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Definitely had something. Rich says, would you say Harper was our best backup goalkeeper? Yeah, probably wasn't he? I mean, he had plenty of practice at it. But he was, he was loyal, stayed, and but he probably was. I don't think there's many people that would have sat on the bench as long as him. I think more people would have decided to move on, wouldn't it? Yeah, Andy Carroll's third.
Hat-trick.
Good goal. Good finishes, though. Good finishes, these goals, weren't they?
Wouldn't think that's 10 years ago, would you?
No, it's frightening. Absolutely frightening when you think that was 10 years ago. Shearer celebrating again. There's Stevie Burns from the Black Bull, and Shearer's counting his money.
Yeah, he must have backed him for a hat-trick.
Does that even one time get right there in front of him? Going up the steps. The glasses on his head.
I don't know who that was. He used to be in the box with a lot of his pals. A lot of them old Geordies, who lot of them were like owned the garages in and around Newcastle. Like, but a lot of good lads. Been out with them a few times in Newcastle after the games, and good bunch of lads. Stevie Burns, of course, owns the Black Bull pub up on Barrack Road, and he used to go out and look after the players back in the days of the entertainers, and they would often use the Black Bull, the back room at the Black Bull, to have a few late nights as well. So
renowned winners.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So Newcastle 6, Aston Villa 0, coming towards the end of this retro watch back. Absolutely fantastic game to watch, and there it is, full time. Been a pleasure, lads. Really enjoyed watching that again. Been something different, and we hope that those of you who've tuned in today have enjoyed our crack throughout the game. Looking forward to having a day off tomorrow. Going to be doing absolutely nothing as far as podcasts are concerned, but I am going to be sticking this up 6 o'clock. Did an interview John Altman from EastEnders a couple of weeks ago about his new album, amongst other things, including acting as well. And as always, we're going to promote our campaign for this month, which is Think Before You Tweet. All the regulars have backed the campaign and feature on the video that we had knocked up. So from me, from Spenny, from Martin, and from Daz, have a good Saturday evening, and we'll play out with the video. Take care, lads.
Good luck, lads.
Guys.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.